Good evening, folks. Welcome to today's episode of Countdown to Kickoff. And today, we're talking FAMU and Southern. Basically, a rivalry that's been going on for years. Been glad it's back now that both teams are in the SWAC. Hopefully homecoming was good to a lot of you guys and everything. Hopefully you guys had a happy and safe homecoming and are, ready to get back to it and into the thick of things and everything. What's going on, little baby 245? Hope this has been a wonderful Saturday for everybody. As always, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Be sure to leave a comment as well. So the comment section is open on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. So of course, we're going to talk about it today. What did Coach Colesy have to say on his Monday presser after a huge homecoming win, and how can they keep the momentum going as well too? Let's go ahead and put the fact up now. As far as last week goes, 25-5 on homecoming since 95. So, that's a wonderful thing, but that's in the past now. You got to worry about, building upon that and salvaging what's left of the season and continuing the upward trajectory of the season as well, as best as you can. But as well, too, we'll talk about like players to watch, a couple of your thoughts and everything, a couple of key facts to look for as far as today goes as well. And as well, of course, score predictions too for today's game as well. A quick score update for today before we do roll the intro. So as some of you know, those of you that are interested in baseball, Game 2 of the World Series between the Dodgers and the Blue Jays is tonight after Toronto basically just put belt to ass on the Dodgers in Toronto. So Game 2 is tonight. First pitch is at 8. You also have a couple finals, 3 finals actually. South Florida shockingly led 31-17. They lost to Memphis 31-34. Ole Miss escaped the Palace on the Prairie with a win 34-26. And then Indiana might really just be the best team in the country. They won 56-6 today against UCLA. A couple first quarter scores. You've got Iowa State. They lead 10-7 over BYU. You have Washington, who leads Illinois 7-0. And then Missouri and Vandy, they are tied 0-0. And then in the Magic City Classic, Alabama State leads Alabama A&M 7-6. And those are your scores. And then, of course, at 5 p.m., the one that we all care about, FAMU and Southern at 5 p.m., Texas A&M at LSU. Ooh, busy day in Baton Rouge. That's at 7:30 tonight. And then the Battle of the Dakotas, North Dakota State and South Dakota State at 8 p.m. in South Dakota. So those are your scores and everything to update you on. Real quick, also, too, before we do get this rolling as well, definitely, again, make sure that you give the Fan Exchange. I'm actually going to start, promoting this on this show as well as even also Tuesday nights with Bishop for the Rattler Roundup. So by all means, give to the collective, even if it's just $10. Give to the collective. Put your money where your mouth is. It goes back to student athletes. It's a great cause. Give back. But yeah. So that being said, we're also going to show basically Southern's AD and what he had to say about Terrence Graves' situation, as well too. I'm going to show you all a clip of what I mean by when I say want to, after having said it for a consecutive amount of weeks on this show. Because a lot of people sometimes wonder, like, what does want to mean? What does that mean? Don't worry. I'm going to show you. So with that being said, let me just go ahead and shut up and let's just roll the intro. See you on the other side. Let's go. with that being said, let's go ahead and let's talk about it. So, first things first, for Southern last week, they actually, real quick, hold up. So, oh my goodness, this is actually pretty crazy. NC Central leads Delaware State 24-21 right now. It's North Carolina Central's homecoming. That's actually a pretty wild game right now because if Delaware State wins, they go to first place in the MEAC. Ooh, that's wild. Deshaun Jackson is balling in his first season. I always thought it would have been Michael Vick. Crazy. All right. So, yeah. So, Southern, their last game, and little did we know it would also be Terrence Graves' last game. They lost to Prairie View 24-3 on their homecoming, and it's pretty effed up how they did it. You let him do the Monday presser, and then you fire him afterwards. I thought that was really messed up. But with that being said, in steps, Fred McNair. He's their new interim head coach. And I'll say this too, if you watch that conference call all the way through, you could just look at Terrence Graves and just see he was a defeated man. He sounded like a defeated man. He knew his time was up. I think he just didn't know when, but he had the look of a defeated man and a dead man walking. So, I think he knew. But with that being said, a couple facts about Southern. They have not beaten FAMU at home since 1996. So it's been a long time, regardless of what you want to say. Well, how many times did FAMU play Southern in Baton Rouge? Okay, well, recently, in all the trips to Baton Rouge, FAMU has won. So Southern's had multiple opportunities to end that streak, and they haven't. So with that being said, yes, FAMU has not lost in Baton Rouge since 1996. Okay. Now, also to let it be known, and this is actually a pretty crazy fact, and I think this is going to hinder on today. Southern's averaging 13 points per game, according to ESPN. They've only scored more than 17 points in one game this season, and that was against Valley, I think, when they scored 34. So this team is having a really tough time offensively getting anything going. So I think for a lot of us, if you thought that we had it tough, this team in Baton Rouge, man, oh my gosh, this is from what I watched against Prairie View. These guys can't even walk and chew gum at the same time. Also, too, I will state also they stood tough with Prairie View for the first few minutes, but then they were quickly out-physicaled, outsmarted, and outgained, and they lost all three aspects of the game against Prairie View. Even in garbage time, I think it could have been a little bit worse, but they did show some pride, of course. Again, they fired Terrence Graves after an ugly loss to Prairie View on their homecoming. And then now in comes Fred McNair as the interim head coach. And dare I say, this is his job interview? Dare I say? Also, I will say they have an efficient rushing attack. Trey Hawley is their do-it-all running back. As he goes, this offense goes. And if you can stop him and limit him, much like Prairie View did, I think you have a chance to win today. Defensively, you have to limit him. Lackluster passing game. They just barely got over 80 yards passing on completions last week. They gave up 224 passing yards to Prairie View. They gave up 361 total yards in total. 7 of 16 on third down last week. 7 penalties, 56 yards. Now, I'm going to play a clip. Well, first, let's talk about what Terrence Graves had to say. So, in that interview, Terrence Graves did his Monday presser, which, quite frankly, if he didn't know that was going to be his last day, I don't think he would have done it anyway. He stated in his interview, and I quote, I'm disappointed. We're dealing with the same struggles we've had all year, inability to score points. Then we get worn down defensively. Then we give up points. We're consistently inconsistent. He also went on to say, finishing strong would be great. I don't know if it will quiet the noise. At the time, he hadn't been fired yet. He said, I'm at peace with who I am. 2 choices in life. Let life consume you or continue to fight. And you can just listen to it when you hear him talk. It just sounds very, very just defeated. He also stated, I have a better I have to be better for us to be better. And he also stated, with all the negativity, somebody has to be positive and be that voice to calm those things. Everything that helps to allow these young men navigate through the trials and tribulations of winning football games, but also in life. We have an open door policy to help our kids. And that was the last few words of his press conference before he was let go. He wasn't talking about, what he was going to do for himself or anything like that. His main thing was for those kids and helping them. And after that, the rest is history. So now, before I do move on to FAMU, I'm going to play a little bit of a clip of what Southern's AD had to say with regard to this latest move.
Done enough due diligence in your coaching searches for the last 5 years?
I think we felt pretty good about it. I mean, and with that being said, we won outside too. We won our division twice. So, there are a lot of people that don't come close to winning their divisions. And so, they have done that. But I do think that this was different because the expectations were so high and that the game plan was there. So, and not just, once again, not just not winning those games, but the way we competed in those games. I think that's the difference.
I mean, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, granted, also too, the fact that you won the division, it's not a good division. The division sucks. Facts. Exactly. It's a very weak division. It's not good. It's literally, dare I say, the AFC South. It's the AFC South. That's what it is. It sucks. So, and then the fact too, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure they're paying 2 coaches right now currently. They're paying it's a rabbit's foot won that division. Yeah, exactly. And if I'm not mistaken, they're paying, Terrence Graves as well as Dooley, if I'm not mistaken. So I guess whoever they bring in next, don't lose to Prairie View, because then you're gonna lose your job. But yeah. So with that being said, for FAMU now, you got to win last week on homecoming, 33-28. A bad team should never score 28 points on you personally, but this football team, they have fight, but I don't think that they're a championship football team. Not this year, at least. Maybe next year. We'll see what happens with a couple of things. So again, as I stated, 25-5 on homecoming since 1995. RJ, and for those that say, oh, well, he doesn't like RJ Johnson, him and Bishop don't like RJ. RJ played a good game. He may have played his best game of the season, I think, up to this point, in my opinion. He did have a noticeable limp after the game. Is he going to start today? I would assume so. If not, then that means Jet's going to come in and he's going to start. As well, too, non-existent rushing attack. The rushing attack is still inconsistent. Now, with that being said, I've heard word that it is a little damp after previously having rain showers move through Baton Rouge. So, with that being said, Burris was in the press. Yeah, and I think that plays a huge factor as well. He coached that Florida Classic last year up in the press box as well, and you notice what happened. And I think he needs to stay up there. Honestly, he needs to stay up there. But yeah, I've heard word that there are rain showers that have moved through Baton Rouge. So again, even though it's on turf doesn't dry out like that overnight. It's still going to be a little damp. So I would anticipate, even though you struggle to run the ball, you're probably going to have to lean on your running game. And the inconsistency of your wide receivers also shows that. So maybe there is something there that you could take advantage of running the football. Maybe. So who knows? Hopefully this is the game where the running game finds itself. As well, too, the wide receiver room all around had a pretty good day on homecoming. surrendered a punt return TD versus Alcorn. It was actually, I think Colsey said it was 79 yards, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 79-yard punt return. That can't happen. You're being that shows lackadaisical and a lack of grit. And I'm gonna read off what Colsey had to say as well too, as far as that goes. As well too, they gave up 17 yards on 13 carries to Ja'Cory and Sewell. So they did a good job against one of the SWAC's supposed premier rushers. You'll have your chance to go up against another one in Trey Holly. Altogether, Prairie View had 126 on the ground. Ooh, this actually is interesting. Carlos Brown's podcast at Southern owes $153,000 to the prior coach and will owe the most recent coach. Dismissed $299,000. You know what? I'm glad you said that. I'm gonna finish this up and then I'm gonna get back to this. Hold on one sec, because let's see. Defense did not record any takeaways in last week's game. Daniel Porto was also perfect. Yeah, so I would expect him to continue that streak of field goals and extra point attempts. I think he missed one, but either way, still, that kid was damn near perfect. 8 of 17 on third down, so you're about 50%. Alcorn was 7 of 15. And 6 penalties for 61 yards. Now, back to this. Now, when I say FAMU is a more favorable destination than a lot of places, this is what I mean. Because, yes, they're paying Dooley $153K plus the $299K that you're paying Terrence Graves. Yeah. Not to mention, you have to look over your shoulder every time you possibly lose to Prairie View. That right there is enough to not make that a sexy destination. Whereas, much like me and Bishop talked about Tuesday night, if you haven't seen it yet, it's up. You can go watch it. FAMU, in spite of all of the shortcomings and all of the things that come out every now and again and all the things that give us a headache, that job is still favorable. Who doesn't want to coach in Florida compared to this? Because this is a train wreck. Carlos said the contrary. What's been reported that Dooley payment is still owed. These tab is paid in full. That's a mess. That whole situation's a mess. Oh wow. Sheesh. Ooh, that's gonna be interesting to be talked about later. But yeah. Point is, what I'm saying is, the job at FAMU is far more desired versus whatever's going on in Baton Rouge. Again, no state income tax, big thing. Large recruiting pool, very big thing. And you don't have whatever that is going on. Regardless of whatever Colsey's buyout may be, I've heard from sources that he wouldn't be owed anything if he's let go at the end of the season. It's neither here nor there. But now, also too, so as far as players to watch goes for FAMU today, RJ Johnson, of course, 26 of 38, 323 yards, 1 pass TD. He also had a rushing TD too. Thad Franklin, 19 carries, 67 yards. Got to get him going today. Today's probably a prime example of, finding a way to get him going. Kenari Wilcher, 5 receptions, 83 yards. Jalen Rogers, 2 receptions, 30 yards. He had 1 key reception in that game last week that led to a touchdown. I think it was the rushing touchdown that RJ Johnson had. And also Jason Riles continues to be the leader in the clubhouse as far as tackles goes. 34 total tackles on the season. And then Corey Collier had a great day from the safety position last week. 7 total tackles last week in that 33-28 win. And then for Southern, Ashton Strother, 12 of 21, 81 yards, 1 interception. God awful. Trey Holly, 21 carries, 99 yards. And then running back Prince Kahi, Princeton Kahee, 5 receptions, or I think I should have said 5 carries. I think it was 5 carries, 30 yards. If I'm wrong, someone correct me. As well, too, Cam Jefferson, 5 receptions, 30 yards. Ooh, I messed that up. Oops. Oh, well, it's not a perfect world. Safety Elijah West, 8 total tackles last week. And then, of course, another player to watch is Jacoby Givens, that, do it all defensive end, who actually has been neutralized in 2 games that if you go back and watch Southern, he has not been a factor. NC Central, he was not a factor. They went right at him multiple times, wore him out, took him out of plays. He was not a factor. And then you go back and look at that Prairie View game, he was also not a factor there. Let's see. That's getting more and more interesting. So it appears folks on the bluff are willing to look outside beyond the SWAC to find a proven coach. Mr. Brown's show was very enlightening. I don't blame him. I say that about us. I think I'm being generous now, if and when you move on from Colsey, whether it's this season, which I have a scenario where if that plays out, what has to happen, or whether it be next year if you don't renew his contract, I think you got to look beyond the SWAC which I think FAMU will do regardless. Yes, you need to look beyond the SWAC. I'm of the majority that I don't think you need to be recycling SWAC coaches, to be honest with you. I think you should look beyond just the SWAC. I get it. You want someone that understands the culture of this conference and stuff, but your objective needs to be to win the conference. And then not after that, go win the Celebration Bowl. Somebody has to, stick it to the MEAC in this conference. So, yeah, kudos to them. But again, FAMU needs to do the same thing, I think, if and when they move on. As well, let's see. Oh, so what did Colsey have to say in his Monday presser? He said, continue to be consistent, continue to build the offense, and continue to get the wide receivers involved. Wow. Look who finally opened their damn eyes. Regardless of the record, we expect them, Southern, that when he says them, to come out fired up. Because, again, this is a rivalry game, and they haven't beaten FAMU in Tallahassee or in Baton Rouge in a long time. Well, they haven't beaten FAMU in Tallahassee in a long time either, for that matter. But tightened. I see your comment, VM. I'm going to get to that in a sec. Staff and players won't take any games for granted, because someone did ask him about as far as like taking games for granted. He said that's still a tough place to play. They may be 1-6, but they'll play us like they're 6-1, which that's true. And he made a good point there. And Joe Taylor made a good point about this too, like about a decade or two ago. The orange and green, that snakehead logo, it brings the best out of people. It does. It's a big deal when FAMU pulls up and you have to play them. So best believe, I don't expect this to be, a walk in the park. I don't expect them to just lay down. This is going to be emotional for Southern today because they lost their leader. And Fred McNair is going to try to rally these troops and have them motivated to play. As well, too, he also said we got to be consistent pressuring the QB. I agree. Getting off the field on third down, facts, and containing their running back. So, yes, Trey Holly, neutralizing him is going to be a huge priority today. And, this is where I can play the clip now. So, Colsey also talked about, the 79-yard punt return TD. And he said, we have to get guys on the field that want to do it. And he said, we've got guys hoping the other guy makes the tackle. And this brings me back to something that, I know some people have mixed feelings about Nick Saban, but it's one thing Nick Saban said in a press conference. He said, you get the right people on the bus, you get the wrong people off the bus. And he said, I believe it was like people with low expectations don't like high achievers. And people that are high achievers don't like people with low expectations. So with that being said, when I say, and when Colsey says want to, guys that want to make plays, and when I say the want to, this right here is exactly what I mean. By the way, also shout out to the person on Instagram that showed me this clip. because I was longing to find something like this. No. So yes, when I say want to and effort plays, it's plays like that that I would like to see from this team all around. And people may say, "Oh, well, that's college. That's a college football playoff game. They have better talent." No, 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 no. Heart. That's all heart. I don't care about stars. I don't care about where you came from before you came to FAMU. That's all heart. Not three guys around you and not letting one of them get you down to the ground and you getting a touchdown. That's the type of effort I want to start seeing from this team today and going forward. Really, I was hoping to see that week 1 down in Miami in that same stadium, like what Notre Dame did there. So yes, I'm comparing because of personally what my expectation is of this team. That's why if Colsey doesn't win the rest of the games, he's expected to win today, November 8th. Okay, so Pine Bluff, November 15th, Alabama A&M, Bethune-Cookman, and Valley. Yeah. So here's my theory with this. So I look at it from the perspective of you should win today. Now, I don't think you're going to win next week. Matter of fact, I'm confident enough to put it on a parlay to say I don't think that this team is going to win next week. I'm just going for the vibes. Plus, I got invited to the Valdosta Lions game. So there's also that. But I do think they can win today. They should win against Pine Bluff, regardless of how motivated Kareem Burke is going to be when he sees them. You should win against Alabama A&M as well. You should also win November 29th against Valley. So that's what this team's won 2 games. So that's what 3, 4, 5. That's 6 wins right there. So I think, in my personal opinion, if you win all those, okay, that's fine. Now, if you lose the Classic, yes, I think he's screwed. I do. If he wins the Classic and he goes 7-5 again and matches his win percentage from a year ago, I think there's a good chance that he will be back again in 2026. But if he loses the Classic, I think all bets are off. I think he's gone. Like I told a group of people, I think you got to just, cut your losses. I think you leave him at the Animal Kingdom Lodge at Walt Disney World after the game, and you just continue on your way. And if that happens, if I'm Mike Smith, I do the old Al Davis thing. I get on the phone with Quinn Gray, and I say, look, I'm not getting off this phone until you're the head coach. And I'm telling him, look, you can still finish out your tenure because I think Albany State's going to the D2 playoffs. I'm telling him, I'm just going to be like, look, you finish up doing what you got to do in Albany. But after that, come on home. That's my person. That's where I personally stand on the matter. If I'm Mike Smith, I am not getting off the phone until Quinn Gray is the next head coach. And my theory with that, like I was telling Chad and Bishop Tuesday night, you have a huge pull in recruiting with Quinn Gray. Tallahassee, Jacksonville, South Florida, Tampa, Orlando. You need to find somebody too that can recruit Polk County successfully in large quantity. That county for so long has belonged to the Florida Gators. If you can pull in large quantity out of Polk County, look out. Del State's going to win the game. Wow, so somebody came in and finally put Trey Oliver in his place. That's big because Delaware State's going to be in first place now. Wow. See, those discussions have already taken place from whatever. I wouldn't be shocked if they haven't. And honestly, and I did have a chance to talk about it with a post game. Well, there will be a post game after this game today. I haven't had a chance to talk about it with a lot of people, but dude, going around convocation and just listening to people talk and everything like that and the vibe from everything, a lot of people have been saying Quinn Gray's name. A lot of people have been saying too, regardless of if you win the classic, you move on. That lets you know. It might only be a matter of time. Like I said, he better not lose another one. Outside of Jackson State, you better not lose another one. You can't afford to. You should win every single one. You should. And hopefully Burris being up in the press box makes a world of difference for him. Hopefully. Georgia too. Gray can do it. Yeah, no, he can. I believe it. He's got the ties to do it, and for the crowd that says, well, he's not doing that at Albany State. Again, Albany State is a good team, but also they're D2. But at the same time, too, it's like, how when you're recruiting, which one sounds more sexy? Are you going to recruit a kid to go to Albany State, Division II team that's going to win a couple games, make the playoffs, make a little bit of a run, and then that's it? Or are you going to just, sell FAMU to a kid down in South Florida and say, hey, if you come here, you can win a SWAC championship, you can get a degree in anything that you want. And you can also win a Celebration Bowl. Not to mention FAMU's got a history of draft picks, Hall of Famers. Like, which one sounds sexier to you? If he goes 7-5, they'll allow him to finish out. I think so too. But if he had mucked up homecoming, he was going to be like, yeah, no, I think so too. That's facts. Because, boy, I think when they fell down 14-3, the temperature went up about 1,000 degrees in Bragg. But thankfully, they were able to come back and rally. But yeah, no, I think he has to win out with the exception of November 1st, or with the exception of next week, I should say, because it's literally right around the corner. And at least 7. No, I agree. I actually think matching last year's record is also going backwards too, in my opinion. But, in the minds of some, it's enough to save you. Me personally, that shouldn't be okay here. You should be expecting to be in the race this year. You should be expecting to, in my opinion, that Jackson State game next week, the East should be on the line in that game. And it's a shame that it's not. It's annoying that it's not. Because now it's just essentially going to be a game where, Jackson State's going to come in and they're going to basically pound you to submission. And in the past, for the past, 2021, 2022, 2023, with the exception of 22, 23, 24, that was a heavyweight clash. So, yeah, no, I agree. 7-5 is not acceptable. You've been passed up by Jackson State. You've now been passed up by Alabama State. Lost your home winning streak. We can't look like we have against Alabama State and North Carolina Central. I agree. You can't. And hopefully, last week was the sign of improvement. Hopefully today is continued signs of improvement. Oh, yeah. No, and that's like Bishop said, it's somebody's dream job. It is. It's somebody's dream job. So, and I say this because I don't know what type of bromance Colsey and Ray Matthews got going on, but, you're hindering somebody's dream job, to be honest with you. And somebody's going to want to be here 5 or more years. Somebody will. Not all Rattler fans are cool with that gray interest. I think it's because of how previous Rattler norms have fared. That's also true. I get it. Earl Holmes was a failed experiment. I didn't think he was ready, to be honest with you. I mean, Ken Riley won 2 conference titles in when the late 80s, early 90s. Still conference crowns. But I mean, the difference is, in my opinion, you have to look at the day and age. You have transfer portal. You've got NIL, which again, let me bring this up. NIL, or if everybody gets behind this, then yes, sky's the limit. But I can understand. But people got to understand like this too. The past is in the past. It is a new day and age. Hmm. Yeah, you've been here longer than I've been on this earth. So I'm 28. My first Florida Classic wasn't until 98. So I mean, you know, you've seen it more times than I have, So we'll see. The only example I can point to is the Alex Wood situation back in 2017. I thought whether or not he had won that game, I thought he was done. Just don't lose the value or UAPB. Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, don't lose that. If you lose either one of those two, oh, there needs to be a serious discussion. Well, I love what you do. Appreciate that, man. Appreciate that. Like I said, I mean, hey, look, but you've been around the corner more than I have, man. So I can't really say what life was like pre Billy Joe. I can't really like speak on it or what because I wasn't there to live it. But I appreciate that though, man. It means a lot, man. I'll have to pass that along to Ace Bishop, Mr. Sasser and everybody else. Let's see what else we got here. Quinn has cut his teeth and wants to blaze the trail before he said he's ready to be a head coach of the D1. Yeah, no, I agree. And I think looking back, because if you remember correctly, and I said this Tuesday night too, when Alex Wood was let go, he admitted he wasn't ready. And he was coaching high school ball at the time. And then he got the job, I want to say, at Alcorn. Then he went to Memphis. And then I think he went back to high school. And now he's at Albany State. I think. Don't quote me on that. But I do think he's more polished than those guys in the past were. I don't even know if Earl Holmes had previously ever been a head coach. Ken Riley, I don't think had previously been a head coach before coming to FAMU to be the head coach. Quinn Gray has more experience than both those guys at this point. He's got previous head coaching experience, so I think that kind of puts him ahead of both of those guys. But I mean, I'm sure too, Quinn Gray would tell you too, he's like, I'm nowhere near the type of coach that Ken Riley is, but that's neither here nor there. But again, we'll see. If they hire him and he comes in and he's successful, the people that are unsure, they'll eat their words. And if he's unsuccessful, I'll eat my words. I think that hurts recruiting too much. It does. It does. You saw it last year. You lost the Valley at home, which is something you should never do. That I always allude to it as this. I think the Valley game should be similar to an NFL preseason game. Get guys in and out, beat the crap out of them, and then just be done with it and move on to next week. But again, Valley's a team that they fight. They have guys over there that are Division I athletes too. They do what they can with less. So, again, but nevertheless, you should not lose that game. That game should never be lost, in my opinion. All right. So, that being said, here we go with questions. So, hold up one sec. To be honest, there wasn't the type of pressure to win now like it is now. And with the NIL and portal, it's complete. Yes, exactly. No, that's facts. Because I'll go back as far as even who can you go back to? Well, I'll say this. Let's look back at Ken Riley's time. He lost more than 3 games. I'm not sure how many conference games he lost, but he lost at least, I think, at minimum 3 games both times that he won the MEAC. Again, that's the 80s. That's back when there was no portal, there was no NIL, there was no win now atmosphere. Joe Taylor is still loved by a lot of people at FAMU. He never won a conference title, but he also did good enough to where he lasted a long time. There was no immediate win now. Reuben Carter got 3 years. But at the same time, too, he was 2-1 in Florida Classics, and he also recruited a heck of a class that Joe Taylor inherited. So, I mean, again, back then, there wasn't even this win now atmosphere. That win now atmosphere, truthfully, didn't really start to kind of brew up, I want to say, until Willie Simmons really came into the picture. That's where I think it really kind of brewed up. And I think it's become even more tense now with the fact of, the NIL now being a thing, the portal, and then not to mention now these kids are going to be able to gamble on games and stuff too. So that's going to add even more fuel to the fire, because now you become suspicious of, oh, are they betting on the other team, or are they betting on themselves to have this many touchdowns, depending on what app you're betting on yourself with, whether it's Hard Rock or, Underdog or whatever else it may be. So there are other factors out there now. So there's so much that plays into it nowadays. Now it's insane, So yeah, I agree. Yeah, the win now has kind of like made it a completely new game, much more different than what it was 15 years ago, even 10 years ago. Let's see. Yep, in the 80s, if you put a good product on the field and 100 won all their battles, we were cool. Yeah, see, and back then it was always, and even when Joe Taylor was around, it was always even Alex Wood in the first half of Willie's tenure too. It was always, win homecoming, win the classic. The rest of it, it's fine. We want to be above 500. We want to be in the running for everything, but if you win those games, perfectly fine. So yeah, I do think that it has changed a lot, honestly. So yeah. All right. So let's see. A couple of questions here. So for Southern, why fire Graves on Monday after the presser? In my opinion, I thought that was heavily unprofessional. I'm surprised Terrence Graves didn't cuss out the AD. Personally, I would have called him everything under the sun and probably would have told him, you know what, I'm not going to say that on camera. I would have mouthed off if it was me. Graves is more professional. I can understand. Also, too, what do they have left to fight for? You got a couple more games left if you're Southern. You have a new re-energized focus, I should say, with your head coach being fired. Not to mention, too, the fact of the matter as well, when you have a coach fired like that, you have guys that are now fighting for, minutes on the field, fighting for, possibly even their next stop, and even, the new regime that will come in if they choose to stay. So everybody's still trying to put good film out there and everything too. So you have to look at it like, I still have something to fight for. These guys are still fighting for, jobs at their new destinations or jobs under a new regime. Let's see here. He was done after the Valley game. Southern can go on to win the rest of their games after this loss. Yeah, they could. They could. I wouldn't shock me if they did. I think this game, I think FAMU can win this game because they're catching Southern at a time where they haven't really found their bearings yet with a new coach. And the emotion is still very raw and it stings a lot right now. But I think after this week, Oh, Kev from Tally. Oh my gosh, give me a second. Hold on. Will they be able to establish any kind of passing attack? Honestly, I don't know if Southern can. 81 yards is not good. And then scoring less than 17 points every week is horrible. Let's see. Also, is this now Freddie McNair's unofficial job interview? I think it is, quite honestly. I know someone in the comment section recently mentioned, they don't want to, have a recycled, SWAC coach. I can understand that. But at the same time, too, Fred McNair, he's won the SWAC West. He's been to Celebration Bowls before. He knows what it takes to get there. So, quite frankly, you look at a guy like Fred McNair and you say to yourself, he at least deserves an interview. And right now, these next couple weeks, those are his interview. Let's see. This is wild right here because, oh my God, this is crazy. This is crazy. It was nasty work, yes, what they did to him. Now, if they go 5-7, yes, I think they lose to Jackson State. Alabama A&M, if you go to Huntsville and lose, knowing their quarterback's out, oh my gosh. The week before the Classic, can you say DEFCON 1? And then Bethune? Like I said, if that happens, you leave him at Animal Kingdom Lodge at Disney World and you move on. Oh God, I hope that doesn't happen. Now, even I believe, I think they should beat Alabama A&M. The trick is the second one. That one for me is up in the air. After Alabama A&M, I don't know. That's true, yeah, and they can't throw. A lot of it, when they do throw, a lot of it I noticed was a lot of checkdowns to Trey Holly. Let's see. This should be like the Alcorn game. But hopefully with FAMU scoring TDs, not kicking 4 to 6 field goals. I agree. It should. This is a game where you have to execute in the end zone. When you get in the red zone inside the 25s, you have to execute it with touchdowns. And this is a team you have to put them out of their misery. 1-6, nothing left to fight for, except with maybe 5 games left or whatever it is, and just lost their coach with an interim head coach that probably won't be brought back, but this is essentially his unofficial interview. You got to bury this team. You have to. I know that's easier said than done, granted, with this regime. But yeah, no 4 to 6 field goals this week. You have to everything. Shore up special teams as well, too. Now for FAMU, can FAMU go on a run from here? Again, I think it is very possible. I think after next week, I think you can go on a run. Is there a weakness on defense that they can exploit? Quite honestly, the passing game, in my opinion. I think secondary, this is a game where they should feast. If Southern puts the ball in the air, it has to be yours. It has to be. They don't do a good job passing the ball. Secondary has to take advantage of it. You didn't have any turnovers last week. You should be able to at least get 2 or 3 of them today. How do they prevent Southern from finding balance on offense? Quite frankly, simply put, you make them non-existent passing the ball, and you get 11 hats to the football before Trey Holly can get a full head of steam. As well, too, how do you find a way to create turnovers on defense? Like I stated, this team is not a good passing defense or passing offense. So with that being said, take full advantage of it. When the ball's in the air, make a play on it, try to create some type of confusion, disguise coverages. Hopefully Colty and Kenwick Thompson have been doing that. And make a move. Ooh, this is good. Let's see. 5-7 might not have him return next year. Interesting. Yeah, I don't think if he goes 5-7, he's not coming back. There's no coming back from that because that's a huge drop off from what happened last year. There's no way. You can't come back from 5-7. All right. So that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and give my keys to victory for today. We got 10 minutes before kickoff. Wow. I'm gonna go ahead and give my keys to victory for today. Y'all go ahead and drop your score predictions in the comment section if you feel need to. Oh, wait, hold on. I looked at that. Record. I'm not going to post it. Not yet, at least. I have it. I'm not going to post it, by choice. There's certain things I won't do. That because if I post that, that's just absolutely dirty and just a low blow by me. I'm not gonna do that. But I do have it, and I've seen the numbers. It's not good. Let's see. Oh, that's for somebody else. Remember to support FAMU Sports Network on 96.1. Yes, yeah, y'all make sure y'all do that. Yeah, support those guys, man. 96.1. If you have iHeartRadio, you should definitely be tuned in and listening to 96.1 Jams. I'm sure everybody has iHeartRadio on their phone. So definitely, tune in, listen. Honestly, probably even mute the TV. Mute the TV, crank it up on your phone, and just watch the game like that. Hopefully, it's on the same stream and everything. Hopefully, one's not delayed more than the other. But yeah, no, that's a good idea. I might just, watch Swag TV, mute it, and then listen to 96.1 and listen to Brian and Albert Chester Sr. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Marty Mark. I don't know why I think of Mark Wahlberg when I see that name. But with that, keys to victory are as follows. Yeah, the poster. Oh, I think that's somebody. Let's see. But yeah, keys to victory, simply put, key to victory number 1, contain Trey Hawley. So with that being said, stop the run for the second week in a row. Bringing this one back again for the second week in a row too. Only I'm not really emphasizing it as hard. Find some consistency again, some kind of consistency again, any kind. Do whatever works against the Southern defense. Work it, use it. If passing the ball is your strong suit, despite, how damp it is outside and knowing the fact that rainstorms have just passed through, do it. If you're winning in the trenches against Southern early, do it until they stop it. And when they do stop it, the passing game should open up. So take full advantage of it. This is a team that's got nothing left to fight for. They are emotionally, shocked right now. That wound is still very raw. Go right at it. Take advantage of it. As well, too, key to victory number 3. I figured I would change the last one of want to, since I already played a clip of it, but also since the fact that they did win. So I did say I was going to say it until they won. So they won. I can change it. Better special teams coverage. You can't have a 79-yard punt return TD. That should never happen, especially not against the worst team, statistically the worst team in the conference. That shouldn't happen. So those are my 3 keys to victory. So yeah, stop the run, find any kind of consistency offensively. And number 3, better special teams coverage. You do those 3, I think you should win. Now for score predictions as follows. From Wednesday night, Mr. Sasser 28-10. He said FAMU should win this game. Ace said 20-10. I'm going with 28-13. Quite honestly, I do think we get 4 TDs today. I think Daniel Porto is 4 for 4, excellent again on all of his extra point attempts, and I do think Southern hit their average, 13 points. So that's what I'm sticking with. Yeah, no, I agree. Who knows? We may get 35-7. We just might. Who knows? You never know. Maybe we might get like a pick 6 or 2. Who knows? Let's just be a little optimistic. Come on. Let's see. Colsey inherited a championship core, but has overseen the sharp decline of execution from 12-1 to 2-4 in 18 months. Colsey so far has not shown he can maintain, let alone elevate that standard. The gap is stark. Yeah, that's very true. And it's actually funny, Rattler ATL, because I was going back through some old archives from Instagram on our Penalty Talk page, which if you haven't, it's also posted right there. Yeah, right there at Throw Flags. I went back and I was like, you know what? Where was FAMU ranked? Where were we ranked around Thanksgiving or around Florida Classic time or going the week before? This team was ranked 9th in the FCS poll the week before the Classic. I think they were 4th in the country the week of the Classic. I think 4th or 7th. It was somewhere in there. So, you know, the decline has been, jeez, dude. It's crazy. I've never seen a farther drop off. We should win in the trenches because their D-line is terrible. Folks are out of position on their D-line because they recruited so poorly. Yeah. And honestly, I would continue the trend. I would do in Prairie View and Prairie View, everybody else, and NC Central and Jackson State gave you the blueprint. I would run right at Jacoby Givens. If he's so big and if he's so bad and if he's this badass dude that everyone that put him out to be preseason and in years prior, go right at him. If he can stop you, okay, proven a point. But if not, I would continue to run right up his chest. I thought it was a 4.25. That's what I thought it was. But yeah, no, I agree. You should stack the box and go right at him. Oh, we got 3 minutes before kickoff. Oh boy, let me go ahead and wrap this up. Ooh. But yeah, folks, with that being said, I appreciate y'all joining in for this countdown to kickoff episode. Definitely will be back after the game. There will be a post-game recap. I know. Geez, it's like, I thought this page was going to have post-game recaps and stuff. I have season tickets as well for FAMU, so it's hard for me to do a post-game recap while also getting out of brag and everything. But, the beautiful thing is we'll have post-game recap this week. There won't be one next week. There will be one after the Pine Bluff game. There will be one after the Alabama A&M game, and there will be one after the Valley game to wrap up the season. So definitely, come right back here. We'll discuss it, win, lose, or draw. So with that being said, thank you so much to all of you. Appreciate the comment section. Appreciate all of you guys. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this channel. We will speak to you after the game. And as always, too, make sure you hit them up. Make sure y'all hit them up. Hit up Ashley and Tasha. They do a great job, man. But yeah, with that being said, we will see you after the game. Take care. Stay safe. Stay blessed. Enjoy your Saturday.